Ahoy, shipmates. How's everyone doing? Oh, well, it's a grand day today. It is the birthday of Her Majesty's Royal Marines. Only 2 days after mine. Um, so this is a good week for Britain. Uh, was Bootneck late for parade, Blue Van Man? I've pointed this out before. Bootneck comes a bit late to his streams because if you turn up 5 minutes early for a live stream, typically there's nobody there. So I always go a couple of minutes after instead of a couple of minutes before. Plus, I'm not a serving Bootneck anymore, so I like to revel in my newfound ability to be late for things without getting thrashed till I bleed out my arsehole. It's a great feeling. Evening, young Irish. All right, Al, how are you? We'll have to do another stream one of these days, Al. I keep. The thing is, you have to set them up, don't you? I haven't been near Zoom for ages, and yeah, I'll do that one of these days. And then you need to brush up on your Zoom skills because that was a bit of a clusterfuck sometimes, wasn't it? Anyway, Henderson's relish equals Northern Worcester sauce. I think Henderson's relish is overrated, and I know that's very controversial for a Yorkshireman. But I fucking love Worcester sauce, mate. I think it's quality. It's nice and spicy. I like strong flavours. My wife's hypothesis is that I melted all my taste buds in all those tours of duty eating rations and putting loads of Tabasco sauce on everything. When you've been on MREs for 4 months and you're on rations for fucking months, all the lads start getting the family to send over various condiments, and you just start putting shit out. You know, them ones that come with like drop bottles, and it's like two taps on your tongue, and it's like you've just been napalmed in the face. I get a lot of shit with that in there, so it might be why I'm partial to strong flavors, but I don't like anything that's a little bit tepid. I like chili, garlic, spicy as fuck stuff, jalapenos if you're English. Certainly in Middlesbrough, jalapenos. It took me a few years to get used to calling them jalapenos, but when you ask a Mexican bloke for jalapeno, he has no fucking idea what you're talking about. Your missus loves Steve's baby gravy. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes that. Oh, except George Michael. He was well into it. He used to fucking love that stuff. He couldn't get enough of it. So we play Life on the Ocean Wave, seeing as it's the car's birthday. I don't know how to get the volume right though. Let's see. How's that? Mm-mm, mm-mm. Mm-mm. You can't hear that, right? I'm not just being a lunatic. Louder. There you go. The tune is called A Life on the Ocean Wave. Everyone should know that. Craig Hewitt. Not a bootneck then, Craig. Life on the Ocean Wave. Is this Radio 4? Radio 4 with foul language. Paz will want royalties. Paz doesn't play Life on the Ocean Wave, does he? He'll play some army shit. Paz was a squaddy. What was he in, Paz? Welsh Guards or something? I've never actually asked him. Yeah, but Paz won't be playing Life on the Ocean Wave. Paz is a soldier, not a marine. Royal Irish, is that you or Paz? Are you taking the piss because Paz is blatantly Welsh? Amazing having this on in the headphones on the train home from work. You've obviously got great taste in post-work entertainment. Does this count as entertainment? I suppose anything counts as entertainment, even something as unprofessional as this. Ragnar's a good lad and always encourages people to like it, but I feel as if there's no point in going on about it anymore because they don't show this to anybody. If you're wise enough to already be a subscriber, you'll see it, possibly, but nobody else will. So I don't think there's any point. However, thanks Ragnar for always being on point with the promotion, something that I'm shamelessly bad at. The tune to pop by. Actually, I can take these out now. What do I need them in for? So, core birthday. Good that, innit? I like the graphic. Stole that off the Twitter account. There we are, Royal Marines charity. Hoofing. 357 years and still hoofing. Up the para reg. Hey, Bootneck's not anti-para. You know, there's a pecking order for me, and it's Marines and paras and everybody else. I haven't got a problem with the paras. What do you want me to do? Slag the paras off while there's jihadis roaming about? Are you having a laugh? We've got bigger problems to worry about. I think all of that sort of internecine regimental rivalry is better suited to times when the world wasn't mad. You know, when everything was pretty stable and calm. Then we can have a fight between the Marines and the Paras and the Black Watch and the Royal Highland Dog Walking Regiment and the Welsh Fusiliers and the Irish Guards and all of that shit. But now, when we've got, 100,000? The statistics are terrifying. I read that there's 40,000 radicalised, full-blown jihadis on the watch list in England. This is what we've got from importing people with no checks. No background checks. Did background checks in the fucking 80s. Then we've just spent the last 30 years just importing people like without even checking the basics. Like I said, Arnis Zalkans, I keep going on about him. The bloke had a murder conviction on his record. He murdered his wife, kept her fucking head in the fridge, and then when he got out of prison, he had a quick chat with her, and then moved to bastard Britain. Like, you couldn't make that up, could you? You seriously couldn't make that up. Literally a murder conviction. In America, they don't let you in if you've got a fucking caution on your record for drug dealing. Like, I've been told that. If you try to move to America and you got nicked when you were 17 because you'd sold some ganja, they won't give you a visa. They go, you're fucking having a laugh. You might be a drug dealer. It's like, yeah, I'm 33 now and I was a bit daft when I was a teenager. And they're like, oh yeah, no, we don't trust you. Bad character. The Americans are fucking anal with it. We let in convicted murderers. Oh, you killed your wife? Bloke's like, yeah, killed my wife. Civil servants there with a clipboard. Why did you kill your wife? Bloke's like, she's my fucking wife. I can do what I want with her. Fair enough, Mr. Zalkans. Come on in. Come on. Welcome to Britain, Mr. Zalkans. There's a 15-year-old girl who walks along a very quiet trail to school. Just down there, yeah, turn left. Yeah. Get stuck in, son. Enjoy your fucking self. It's not even funny. Like, I try and make everything gallows humour, but that's not fucking funny. Like I always talk about with crime, when you just read about it and see it on the BBC, Alice Gross, it doesn't really, you have to sit down and make sure that you digest it. Because when you just see names and faces in the paper, you don't feel it. This is what I mean. They talk about the right wing not being the nice people. Ooh, the nasty pie. They are psychopaths. But when you're a woke religious zealot and you see a face of a little girl who got scattered across the front of a pop fucking venue, or little Emily Jones getting a fucking throat cut, and the first thing you think, you gaze into those blue eyes, that little girl, and the first thing you think is, how can we spin this so the woke look good? You're a fucking sociopath. Don't tell me we're the nasty pie, conservative people. Because we care about the future, because we care about our children, because we want to keep all of the things that provided us with such a good, happy lifestyle when we were kids in the 80s and the 90s. And I'm a bad person because I want to keep that for everybody else, including the people that moved to Britain legally in the fucking 90s and the noughties. I'm cutting the line off at the noughties because I think it really went tits up in about 2009. 2009 is when we started letting in fucking rapists and jihadis and mass murderers. But before that, everyone, regardless of nation, was welcomed in Britain and we wanted to create a beautiful future for them all. So don't you tell me that I'm the fucking nasty one because when I see a dead kid on the front of the fucking newspaper, it upsets me. Ash Sarkar sees a dead baby and goes, oh, how can I spin this to make the walk look good? Don't tell me I'm the bad guy, Ash, you sick fuck. In fact, should we talk about Ash for a bit? Because I was actually looking through her Twitter page earlier, and if you want me to get raged for your own entertainment, there is no better way of doing it on the core birthday than pointing a bootneck at a full-blown communist's Twitter feed. Morning, you pack of cunts. From Melbourne, good morning. Phil McCafferty. Right, let's have a look at Ash Sarkar's page, shall we? That's very Royal Marines, not getting called a cunt first thing in the morning. I love it. Cheers, Phil. Thanks. Look at this, right? So, Ash. There's no better way to fill me with rage than watching Ash. And her scowling features. Let me blow that up a little bit. I don't like that. It's a bit small, isn't it? Yeah. There we go. Right. This country is held hostage by a class of bums who expect working people to finance their lifestyles while contributing nothing to society. They're called landlords, and it's time to tax them till the pips squeak. Again, the lack of self-awareness displayed by these fucking lunatics beggars belief. Beggars belief. And I can rebut it from one book, right? I know it gets a lot of play now, which is a good thing because Jordan Peterson promoted it. The Gulag Archipelago. I didn't read it when I was a teenager. Obviously, in our lefty fucking school system, they don't want you to read it. But you can rebut it with that book because he talks about how much the landlords got all the shit. And 99% of landlords, as you all know, I'm sure, 99% of landlords aren't billionaires who were handed property portfolios by mum and dad. They aren't. They just aren't. And if she was saying specifically billionaires, maybe, billionaires holding us hostage, she'd be wrong, obviously, because Jeff Bezos pays more taxes than fucking Ash Sarkar does. But at least she could make a half decent. Shall I just play this for a bit? Because her face is casting a rictus grin there that I don't want to keep on. And let's listen to it for a minute. I'm not going to do the 544 because I won't be able to get through it. But I haven't listened to this myself. I was just scrolling through the page and I thought, you know what? Let's talk about this deranged communist for a bit today. So let's listen. Let's listen to the pure shit she comes out with, and I shall rebut it as we go for a minute. I'm not doing the full 5. Don't worry.
They don't build houses. They don't ensure a supply of affordable homes by keeping rents low. And for all the talk...
Yeah, is it gone? There we go.
Here's a question. What do landlords actually do? They don't build houses. They don't ensure a supply of affordable homes by keeping rents low. And for all the talk about the expense of maintaining properties, it's not like landlords are stumping up the cost from the pay packet of their supermarket job. It's...
Right, so, all right, well, we'll leave it there. That was enough, wasn't it? It was enough total bollocks. They don't build houses. No. But they buy them for large sums of money. Rotten politics in again. All right, mate, how are you doing? They buy them. Ash, you fucking idiot. Did Terry Fuckwit have a sister? Tina Fuckwit. Because this is her. They buy them, right? Just grasp your head around this, right? So yeah, the landlord, of course, he doesn't have to have a small percentage will have built them themselves. But yeah, they don't have to physically get the nails out. You know, you don't have to catch them with a plane on a door like, fucking hell, I've been grafting for weeks to get this house finished. Yeah, they don't need to physically build it because they buy it. They buy it for a large sum of money. You say, give everyone a free house. And the people that build houses, because they don't spring into existence from nothing, Ash, you absolute hornblower. Houses don't build themselves. They are created with these, man's own 2 hands. And if a man cannot own that which he creates with his own 2 hands, he will jam his thumb firmly up his arse and create nothing. out of stubbornness and spite, because that's what humans are, stubborn, spiteful creatures. Capitalism works because it motivates people to get off their arse and do some fucking work. If you are going to start giving away houses for free, how are you going to create the houses? Nobody's going to do them for you. The bricklayer and the plumber won't work for free because they're motivated by a capitalist society that gives them a good wage so they can buy titties and booze and casino times and Ferraris and whatever else they decide to spend the money on. Maybe they're like me, they like to spend it on fucking weak tea and misery because I'm a bad-tempered bootneck. But whatever they choose to spend the money on, the system works. You pay for it. Mr. Landlord, you create the system that involves builders and plumbers and joiners and plasterers and painter and decorators. She doesn't know any of this because she doesn't drink with some working class people and actually know all the people who build houses. I fucking do. I worked at Wimpy for a couple of years when I was 16. First job I had since I left school. So, Mr. Bricklayer, plumber, plasterer, joiner, electrician, they get employed because Mr. Landlord buys a fucking house for a very large sum of money. If you, communist, start just saying everyone has to have a house, you have to create a few million more houses. We've got a serious lack of fucking houses in the UK. And if nobody's going to be buying them, I mean, seriously, what would you do? Would you say, okay, there's a minimum wage, but we can't afford and we'll get that? The plumbers and the bricklayers are making a good living. They don't want to work for whatever paltry pittance you're going to decide to pay them. If by some miracle you do the maths, you'll probably just fucking pay outrageous amounts and will go bankrupt in a year. But if you did do the math because you were having a serious attempt at making it work, they're not going to be very happy because they're suddenly going to get a massive pay cut. So loads of them will go, fuck you, I'm not doing it. And hence, the Googles come... the Googles. Sorry, I got confused because I was trying to do the chat at the same time. The gulags come out. And then you have to force people to work. Because the bricklayer's not going to lay bricks for fuck all, communist. So you have to go, bricks. Lay the bricks, motherfucker. That's how it works. Again, not rocket science. Not rocket science. So, that was just bollocks. They buy the houses. You don't have to fucking lay the bricks themselves, you thick twat. They pay somebody else to do it. Honestly, I'm working class. I've lived in rented accommodation all my fucking life. Rented off a land baron in York. He was a bit of a twat, to be honest. He wasn't a good landlord. He ignored all my emails. He was totally unhelpful. But a couple of bad landlords doesn't mean everyone who's a landlord's a prick. Again, communists are incapable of judging the individual. Most people who are landlords are just working class people that tried. Most people that are landlords, seriously, this is what I'm on about. If she said billionaires, at least there'd be some nuance here. There is no nuance. Most landlords, seriously, I know people that rent houses out. My mate Jonesy rents a house out. My mate Fitzy rents a house out. There's people who I know who started with one, scrimped and saved, lived in it for about 12 or 13 years, and then finally have about enough spare money, because when you get into your mid to late 30s, you don't spend as much on the piss as you do when you're 25. Finally have enough money to buy a small second home. And they go, you know what, we don't need as much space, or the kids have left, you might be in your early 40s, don't need as much space, we'll downsize to a bungalow, we can afford to get in the bungalow, and we can rent the house out. That's how people do it. And this shit is fresh out of the Gulag Archipelago, when they demonised the kulaks. The kulaks were people that they demonised as being the rich, the rich. They weren't the billionaires, because the billionaires, the actual rich people, have the money and the means and the capability to fuck off. And when the communists rise to power, as they always will, do you think Jeff Bezos is going to get caught with his pants down? Seriously, do you think billionaire hedge fund managers are going to get caught with their pants down by this lumbering, slow movements of the state? No. Bezos is off. Second, you freaks who refuse to learn the lessons of history, the second you freaks take office, he's off. And you know you end up stealing houses off? Working class people. Probably grafted all the way through the teens and the 20s and their early 30s, finally buy a second house, downsize, move into a bungalow, rent the house out, The communists rise to power, demonize the fucking working class people that now own the property, kill them all, steal the fucking property off them. That's what happens. And this is a good way to do it, right? Because Peterson and Sargon and all of those intellectual types, they like to make all this complicated. That's just a real world fucking example. I don't need to cite anything other than the one book I've named. It's common sense. That's what happens to most people. I know lads, working class blokes who never had a pot to piss in when they were 20. And they now have 2 houses. The really grafter, the sad bastards who didn't go out on the piss half as much as me, they've got 3. Do they deserve to be whipped like dogs and have their property stolen from them because you're a shit-for-brains communist that hasn't done the reading? Do they deserve it, Ash, with your little hateful fucking 5-minute video calling them bums? Bums! If I work on a fucking building site for 25 years and I've finally got enough money to buy a second home, you dirty, horrible, lying, slimy, murderous shitbag, you don't get to call me a fucking bum. I've worked my tits off for 25 years while you did your fake middle-class job, making videos occasionally, with your perfectly manicured hands. Do you think she's got callous knuckles? This fucking fat, lazy communist. She doesn't know what hard work is. And she'll call you a fucking bum. A scaffolder that works his tits off for 30 years and gets a second house, he's a bum. But some academic with an English degree from a posh university down south is going to call you a bum. A scaffolder, a brickie, a bloke who works in the sewer, a taxi driver, a window cleaner. Honest to God, I don't know how people listen to this stuff and don't get enraged. And that is going to move me neatly on to a tweet I sent to her in response. Because I've got to be careful because it sounds like I'm almost wanting the total collapse of society, and I don't. But it's linked to this issue. Because obviously when you've worked your tits off for years and years, and you suddenly get smeared as a bum, like seriously, by someone who doesn't have the right to call you a bum because you've worked your tits off your whole fucking life, it makes you super angry. Like, what the communists know is, because again, they've been indoctrinated, they've been trained to do this. They know exactly what to say to drive you into a rage. And the thing that makes people really, really, really angry is hypocrisy. It's like really, probably if you can distill what makes humans angry in one word, it's hypocrisy. I don't know why that part of your brain like reacts in the way that it does, but it annoys people more than anything else. It annoys people more than being lied to. It annoys people more than like aggression, swearing at them, calling the kids ugly. Hypocrisy really pushes people's buttons. It gets them infuriated. Because I guess it's the brass neck of someone doing the thing that they told you you're not allowed to do yourself. It really, really irritates you. So what the commies always do, because they know it pushes your buttons, because they want to usher in a revolution, and you do that by driving people against each other, building these wedges. They practice hypocrisy savagely. Like, they don't care, and they do it as much as they can. It's why everybody railed against the preachers, right? The reason the preachers upset everybody in America is a great example, because like I said, when I was in my mid-20s and I first started coming over here, I was like a militant atheist, and I got all militant and annoying because I used to watch TV shows where you'd have like a Baptist preacher on talking about the evils of homosexuals and drugs and vice, and he'd be on TV like proper going for it, like more passionate than I am, going for it, like the evils of sin and homosexuality and drug abuse. And then they would always get caught sniffing a line of coke off a rent boy's cock. You could guarantee it. If you get a Baptist preacher ranting and raving about how gay is evil and drug is evil, you can guarantee he will be snorting said drug off gay cock. That is just how it works, right? And the hypocritical wokeist is the 2020s version of the hypocritical Baptist preacher. Like, that is what they do. Great examples, right? And it explains the hatred for Kate, not Kate, she's all right, Harry and Meghan. The reason everybody hates them is the hypocrisy. When they tell you that you can't go on a flight, but they fly, you just go, it boils your piss. Like, you've been hard at work for 6 months, right? Hammering these nails in that Ash Sarkar's bothered about. Carrying these bricks up these fucking ladders, yeah, so the landlord can buy a house, yeah. 6 o'clock in the morning, carrying a load of bricks on a hod in the fucking rain. Doing that for 8 months, so you can go on holiday to Spain for a week. And then Prince Harry and Meghan go, ooh, fucking hell. What are you getting on a flight for, you horrible bastard? Ooh. You're getting a flight? Oh, you horrible bastard. You might as well just drop your drawers, coil one out on that fucking orphan's face. You horrible bastard. Like, that's their attitude, right? And then they go, despicable. As they're getting onto a private jet to fly to the fucking Cayman Islands. Like, can you believe that? So that's why everybody hates them. It's hypocrisy. It drives people wild with rage. And it's totally understandable. And these fuckers do it on purpose. Because they want to drive the bitterness. The wedge of bitterness leads to hatred, division, and that's how you usher in the glorious revolution. So this is the point I keep telling everybody. You've got to do what I do and try to have a laugh with it. Try to remain human while you're ranting. So yeah, you're pissed off, but you're also laughing and chuckling and pointing out that Ash Sarkar's got a fucking face a dog wouldn't lick. It's one of those things. It's a nice happy medium, I think. Embrace the fury, but don't allow it to become murderous rage like the communists always do. Sort of sprinkle some glitter on the dog shit of hate. Yeah, and try and have a laugh with it. And like I said, don't go on protest, don't get violent, just fucking chuckle away, watch all the world go by as you're sipping your beer on the fucking porch, and let these fucking maniacs wreck the world, because that's what they're going to do. But, yeah, hypocrisy fuels resentment and hatred. And these fuckers are professional hypocrites. Right? Here's a tweet from Ash Sarkar saying, I'll be on Jeremy Vine at 9:15 today talking about the budget and why history won't look kindly on the radicalised drivers assaulting Insulate Britain protesters in the street. So, where to begin with that? First of all, we know that they use ridiculous classifications, right? The grasp for anything to put you in a box. So, of course, the obvious one is race. Well, black and white, we were different. We have to fight with each other. Also, sexuality. Let's add that, because again, this is the brief history of fucking communism, right? I'm giving you the book notes version. The brief history of it is when they realised that every time working class people, the ones that Ash Sarkar smeared, when they realised that working class people always turn into capitalists as soon as they have a bit of capital, they realised that communism wasn't going to work. The radicals, the socialists, the fucking hardcore commies, they were like, well, this is weird. We get everybody riled up in the West. And then when they just look like they're about to snap, they all grow up and get cars and mortgages. And then they don't want to kill the landlords. So this isn't working. So what can we do? Oh, I know what we can do. We can create a new class of oppressors. And instead of it being the capitalists, let's just, because they turn into capitalists, let's pick things that they can't turn into. So if we just gather everybody up under the umbrella of woke, right? If we just get everyone under the umbrella, so instead of just doing the working class, you get women, blacks, Asians, gays, lesbians, trans, followers of everybody's favourite desert religion, anything. If you get all of that, and then rebrand communism in the most unsubtle fucking way ever, which is another thing that I find offensive about wokeism. It's like, it's insulting my intelligence. Like, do you think I'm a complete fucking idiot? It's like walking in on your missus, finding her sucking another bloke's cock, and she says like, oh, I was knocking some dust off his bell end. We know what you were doing. It's insulting to my intelligence. Don't tell me that it's rebranded in the most unsubtle way ever. Wokeism is communism, and it's about as subtle as a boot in the bollocks. I don't understand why it's as popular as it is. Again, I guess there's plenty of fucking idiots out there. So it's insulting to my intelligence for one. But that's what's happened. So they rebranded, they created this new woke religion that is just communism. And now they're practicing the hypocrisy. And Ash Sarkar's going on Jeremy Vine there and telling everyone, oh yeah, drivers are radicalised, like as if that is the new classification. Drivers. Like I already think the racial classifications, the gender classifications are ridiculous. And that's why I joke about it often and say, well, you might as well classify people by their eye colour or their hair colour. It doesn't have anything to do with your opinions, because you can be a black conservative and be a black communist. It's not relevant to me. It just all that matters is what you think. And now they've classified drivers, like that's a fucking protected class, is it? Drivers. And she's saying radicalised drivers. Radicalised by who? If you've been spending the last 5 years fucking people over, you radicalise them, you thick twat. It's not called radicalisation when it's just response to someone being a fucking arsehole. The likes of Osama bin Laden or fucking, what's his name? That horrible hypocritical one who used to get pissed and go see strippers. Not Captain Hook. I know Abu Hamza. What's the name of the one who was quite famous for? Because he was hypocritical and he was always on the telly winding people up. Again, it probably stirred more race hate than anybody else, but I forget his name. Someone in the chat tell me. Not Abu Hamza, the other one who's in jail, who used to walk constantly. He was linked to loads of terrorist groups. He was linked to dozens of people I think the 7/7 bombers were actually personally linked to the guy. And I've totally forgot his name. He was a lawyer. And there's famous pictures of him drinking cans. Angem, yes. That's it. Anthony Bother, thank you. Angem. And this is what they do. It's hypocritical brainwashing people. And Angem radicalised people by telling them a one-sided version of history. That's how you radicalise people. But what you don't do, and what you can't call it, when she's saying radicalised drivers, you can't call them radicalised when all they're doing is responding to external stimuli. And the external stimuli is a big fat ginger parking her buffalo ass in front of my Jeep when I'm trying to drop the kids off at school. Right? That's not radicalisation. If it was, Anjem Chowdhury would radicalise people by walking up to them, punching them in the face and going, now you're going to be a suicide bomber. And they'd go, yeah, brilliant. You've talked me into it, you smooth-talking bastard. That's not radicalisation. Radicalisation occurs in a clever, subtle way. They bring them into the fold. They teach them a one-sided version of history. They subtly brainwash them. They're nice to them. They shower them with affection so they get a bond with them. And then they start filling their head with shite. That's how radicalisation works. Ash, when you're just being a fucking arsehole, you don't get to call people radicals. There is no radicalisation taking place. If you grab my missus' ass and I punch you in the face, I'm not a fucking radical. I'm responding to an arsehole. And if a driver loses his rag because you fucking spunk bowsers have been blocking the bastard roads for 5 years, he's doing what is inevitable. He's an ape. Humans are just apes in clothes, like I say many times. We're not the most logical of things. And when you piss an ape off, he'll stab you in the face with a sharp stick. That's what's occurring. It's not radicalisation. You hypocritical, fucking brain-dead, porridge-faced communist. You're the radical. You got brainwashed in university. You probably had a mentor who showed you some affection, was nice to you, and subtly manipulated you by teaching you one side of history. And now you're a communist. Being an arsehole 24/7 until someone snaps doesn't make you radicalised. And drivers isn't a fucking classification that anybody gives a shit about. You fucking maniac. Again, I can't believe I have to say this stuff. I can't believe cleverer people than me don't go on talk radio and provide the rebuttal. But they don't because they're cowardly. And all they care about is YouTube fucking followers and advertising revenue. So you've got to do it in this tiny platform that nobody fucking listens to, because this is what we have to deal with. I mean, what's the rebuttal going to be to Ash Sarkar? It's going to be some tepid, middle of the road, left-wing conservative fanny. It's going to be like, oh yes, well I totally understand their opinion. And Ash is right about so many things. We do need to care about the climate. Yes, of course we do. But maybe we shouldn't care that much, and maybe we shouldn't stop people getting to work. Fuck off. She's a lying, brainwashed communist shitbag who, if she has her way, will see the entire nation crumble to dust. There will be another mountain of skulls, just like there was in China, just like there was in fucking Cambodia, just like there was in Russia, just like there is everywhere. These lunatics getting a sniff of power. That's what someone should be saying. Should get someone on Question Time and just say, Ash, you've got the IQ of a fucking pork pie. I wouldn't let you run me a bath, you dopey cunt. But nobody will. Don't know why. Anyway, there we go. That got me wound up. Well done, Ash. Stoked the coals of hatred. Oh yeah, and there's an obvious point again, because I always say they don't know anything about history. That's what's going to happen. Let this stand. I told you guys before, I didn't start a YouTube channel for money. I've never monetized it, and I don't take any cash off anybody, other than the occasional pint. I mean, I've made fuck all money. It's not about the money. I just wanted my deranged rants to be captured forever in cyberspace. So when I'm right about everything, because I'm a chippy northern wanker and being right about everything is more important to me than anything, right? Because that's how much of a chippy cunt I am. I think I've put my finger onto this, because people have mentioned it a few times. Why do I like being right so much? Because I will argue with a brick. If I'm right and you're wrong, I have to tell you. It gets me in trouble with my missus sometimes. She's patient and perfectly fucking reasonable. But we can have some tiny, pointless little thing. We could be arguing about, I don't fucking know, the weather, the colour of a certain building, anything. If I'm right and she's wrong, I have to fucking get her to concede. She's not like, let's not talk about it anymore. I'm like, no, I'm definitely right. I don't want to not talk about it anymore. I want you to concede I was fucking right. And I think it is irrational. It's a failing on my part. I know, and I'm bad-tempered. I think it's because, again, I'm really chippy about being like northern, and I hate it in my life when I meet someone who's like posh and well-spoken. I mean, a good example is a Rupert from Sandhurst. I had some dealings with Sandhurst Ruperts when I was in Baghdad, and some of them were genuinely fucking thick. There was a lieutenant. I won't name her because you'll find her on Twitter and torture her. But there was an army lieutenant who was as thick as shit, and she was in charge of the Gurkhas. She was their lieutenant, and she was a fucking moron. Everything she said was wrong. Just wild speculation, pure incompetence. And obviously, I went on my course before I went to Baghdad, and I learned loads of stuff. I was at Chicksands for like 3 weeks. And they just filled my head with information about Iraq, the Sunni, the Shia, we did aerial photography exams, so I could ping specific buildings in Baghdad and the surrounds by just seeing it from an aerial photo. I was like, oh yeah, that's the tomb of the unknown soldier. Like, I knew these things by memory. So I did my job professionally. I spent 3 weeks getting my head crammed full of Iraq, everything you need to know. And then I'd tell her something that I knew. Like, Route Irish is the most dangerous stretch of roads in the world, love. You shouldn't be driving it in the middle of the day. You have to have a fucking end. You have to have securities. You have to have numerous different elements in place before you can't just fucking drive to the airport because you think you're hot shit and you've got a single vehicle pass. It's a terrible idea. She was a fucking moron. But I always felt whenever I was involved in a debate with any of these people, they always thought as if they just knew right because of my accent. Like, in Britain, we have a mega class society. I'm aware I'm sounding a bit like a socialist here, but we do have a class society in Britain. I just believe that carrying on with capitalism and making tiny little incremental changes is the best way to fix it. But we have a class society. And that's why I like America, because in America, when you talk like me, people find it quite charming. They don't hear your voice and think, he's a fucking moron. And people from down south who talk like a BBC newsreader hear me speak and think I'm a fucking imbecile. And I'm better read. And I've got common sense, which 80% of people apparently don't. So I get quite annoyed. And when some fucking chinless wonder who talks like he's got a mouthful of fucking plums says something that's blatantly wrong, I can't just go agree to disagree. I'm a chippy northern wanker and I have to say, yeah, but you're fucking wrong though. You're fucking wrong. Concede it. I won. I have to do it. And it's a massive failing on my point and I understand it. But at least it motivated me to do this because I'm a chippy, bad-tempered bastard. All right? And I'll finish with that tweet because this is what I told Ash Sarkar. She was like, history won't look kindly on radicalised drivers. Radicalised drivers. We've already done that. I won't go back over dead ground. Read a history book. They refuse to learn the lessons of history. Read a history book. It's happened again and again and again and again. That's what have I said. History is merely prophecy. It always repeats itself because people don't fucking learn it. Ideologues don't want you to learn it. Communists lie about it. Fascists lie about it. So nobody learns it. Read a history book. The communists usher in the revolution and they fight the fascists in the street. And as the ambivalent hate the communists, the fascists win. That's what's going to happen. I've talked about it loads of times. People like you and I, not right-wing, not far-right, definitely not far-right. I don't think I'm particularly right-wing. I'm centre-left on every political compass I fill in. I'm an individualist, libertarian chap who thinks people should be left alone to do whatever the fuck they like. But if you're going to force me to pick between a very, very right-wing government who come in and do a load of fucking harsh stuff, start doing mad shit like saying, right, anyone, let's say if a proper far-right government got in, started doing shit like, if you came to Britain after the age of 5, you get deported. Don't agree with that. I don't agree with it. Far too overbearing. It's a racist policy. Some of those poor bastards have settled in and become as British as I am. But if you're going to force me to pick between communists who will kill us all, who will round up the working classes, give them a nice name like landlords, and kill them all, or merely deport probably thousands who actually deserve it and thousands who don't, the logic part of my brain, and most people are quite logical, says the latter is better than the former. So again, this will probably get quote mined by some fucking shit cunt lefty. I believe I've explained it quite succinctly there. If they force you to pick a side, the working classes will pick the fascists. That's how it's going to go. You guys don't win. Whenever you get your revolution that you were desperate to usher in, you don't fucking win it. And if you would just simply read a long book, you would already know that you're already onto a losing streak. You're backing the loser. It's a terrible idea, communists. Please walk back from the brink and become reasonable again, because this is what you're going to usher in. And that's the point I've made. Then history will be what the fascists say it is, because fascists are like communists. They don't like to tell the truth about history. And then Ash Sarkar and Owen Jones and The Guardian and the BBC will be fucking lost to the sands of time. So this shit about history not looking kindly on you, no. You will be lost to the dust of history, because history is written by the victors. And when the fascists beat the piss out of the communists while the 90% look on, regretful, but not regretful enough to get involved, you're done. And the winners write the history, and they will make your legend reek or vanish like mist upon the mountainside. So that's it. Nice place to stop. If you know a communist, send them my way. Let's try and de-radicalise them. I'm going to leave the drivers to de-radicalise themselves. Fuck me. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll hopefully get on tomorrow. But I think I'm starting work next week, so this might not be a regular thing anymore. I'll let you know. Thanks for watching. Please like it and share it. Blue Van Man, I wasn't aware you had a page. I'll check it out. on Rotten Politics' recommendation. And yeah, thanks a lot. Take it easy. Peace out, dudes. Ugh, that was cringe. I've been in California too long. See you around.